When I told my best friend Gloria that I was signing up for a dance class at 60 years old, she laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. "Beatrice, honey," she said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Women our age join book clubs, not dance studios. You're going to hurt yourself." 6 months later, I was holding a trophy on stage, while Gloria sat in the audience with her mouth wide open. My name is Beatrice Thompson, and I'm 61 years old. What I'm about to tell you is the story of how I discovered that life doesn't end at 60. It begins again, if you're brave enough to take the first step. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I want to know how far this message of hope travels. For 40 years, I lived a small, quiet life. I was a good wife, a devoted mother, and a reliable employee at the local library. I woke up at the same time every day, made the same breakfast, drove the same route to work, and came home to the same routine. My husband, Gerald, had passed away 3 years earlier, and my daughter Sandra lived 2 states away with her own family. I wasn't unhappy exactly. I was just invisible. I'd walk through the grocery store and nobody would see me. I'd sit in church and nobody would remember I was there. At 60, I had become the kind of woman that society decides has nothing left to offer. I was supposed to be content with gardening, watching television, and waiting for grandchildren to visit. But something happened on my 60th birthday that changed everything. I was alone that day because Sandra couldn't make it, and Gloria was visiting her sister in Atlanta. I sat in my living room with a store-bought cupcake and a single candle, and I asked myself a question I'd been avoiding for years. Is this all there is? The answer terrified me because it was yes. This was all there was unless I did something about it. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the dreams I'd abandoned over the years. When I was young, I loved to dance. I'd spend hours in my bedroom moving to music, imagining myself on stage, feeling the rhythm in my bones. But life happened, marriage happened, responsibilities happened, and somewhere along the way, I stopped dancing. The next morning, I did something crazy. I drove to the community center and looked at their class schedule. That's when I saw it. Adult dance workshop, all levels welcome, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. My heart started racing. Could I really do this? Walk into a room full of strangers and try to dance at my age? I called Gloria to tell her about it, and that's when she laughed and told me I was being ridiculous. Her reaction stung more than I expected because Gloria had been my friend for 25 years. If she didn't believe in me, who would? But here's what I realized. I didn't need anyone to believe in me. I just needed to believe in myself. The following Tuesday, I showed up at the community center wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. The dance studio had mirrors on every wall, and I caught sight of myself, a 60-year-old black woman with gray streaks in her hair, carrying 30 extra pounds, standing among people who looked like they belonged there. The instructor was a young woman named Maya, maybe 28 years old, with the kind of body that moves like water. She smiled when she saw me. "First time?" she asked kindly. I nodded, unable to speak. "Don't worry," she said. "Everyone starts somewhere. Just do what feels comfortable." The class began with warm-ups, and I immediately realized how out of shape I was. My knees creaked, my back protested. I couldn't lift my leg as high as the person next to me, couldn't stretch as far, couldn't move as smoothly. But something magical happened when the music started. My body remembered. After 40 years of being dormant, my muscles remembered what it felt like to move with rhythm, to let the beat guide my movements, to feel alive in a way I'd forgotten was possible. I wasn't good. I was terrible, actually. I stumbled. I lost my balance. I got the steps wrong. But I was smiling. For the first time in years, I was genuinely smiling. After class, Maya approached me. "You have natural rhythm," she said. "With practice, you could be really good." Those words planted a seed in my heart that began to grow into something beautiful. I went back on Thursday, then the following Tuesday, then Thursday again. At first, I was always the worst dancer in the class, always the one who needed extra help, always the one who couldn't quite keep up. But I kept showing up. Gloria called me after the second week. "Are you still doing that dance thing?" she asked, her tone suggesting it was a phase that should have passed by now. "Yes," I said firmly, "and I love it. Beatrice, I'm just worried about you. What if you fall and break a hip? What if you have a heart attack? Women our age need to be careful. Women our age need to be alive," I replied, surprising myself with my own boldness. I'd rather risk falling while dancing than die slowly on my couch. The conversation grew tense, and we didn't talk for a few days after that. It hurt to lose her support, but it hurt more to imagine giving up this new joy I'd discovered. My daughter Sandra was even worse. When I told her about the dance class during our weekly phone call, she sighed heavily. "Mom, please tell me you're joking." "Why would I be joking?" "Because you're 60 years old. You're going to embarrass yourself. What will people think?" "I don't care what people think," I said. And I meant it. For the first time in my life, I genuinely didn't care about other people's opinions. But their words did affect me. After that conversation, I almost quit. I stood in my bedroom the following Tuesday, looking at my dance clothes, wondering if everyone was right. Maybe I was too old. Maybe I was making a fool of myself. Maybe I should just accept my age and act accordingly. Then I remembered how I felt when I was dancing. The joy, the freedom, the sense that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I went to class. Week by week, I got better. My stamina improved. My flexibility increased. The steps that seemed impossible in the beginning became natural. Maya started giving me more challenging choreography, pushing me to try new things. "Beatrice," she said after about a month, "have you ever considered performing?" The question shocked me. Performing? Me? I'm just here for fun. "I know, but you're progressing so quickly. We have a student showcase in 3 months. I think you should participate." My immediate reaction was to say no. The idea of getting on stage in front of people at my age seemed absurd. But Maya saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. "Think about it," she urged. "You might surprise yourself." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her suggestion. When was the last time I'd challenged myself? When was the last time I'd done something that scared me? I decided to go for it. The training became more intense. Maya worked with me individually, teaching me a contemporary dance routine set to a beautiful piece of music. The choreography told a story of a woman breaking free from her cage, which felt painfully appropriate. I practiced every day at home, sometimes for hours. My body ached in ways I didn't know were possible, but it was a good ache. It was the ache of growth, of pushing past limits I'd set for myself decades ago. Gloria finally came to visit about 2 months into my training. She walked into my house while I was practicing in the living room, and she stood in the doorway with an expression I couldn't read. "Beatrice," she said quietly, "I need to apologize." I stopped dancing, breathing hard. "I was wrong," she continued, tears forming in her eyes. I was wrong to laugh at you, wrong to doubt you. Watching you right now, seeing how alive you are, I realized something. I've been dead inside for years and I was trying to keep you dead with me. We hugged and cried together, and Gloria became my biggest supporter. She even signed up for a painting class, something she'd always wanted to try but was too afraid to do. Sandra was harder to convince. She refused to come to the showcase, saying she had work obligations. I knew the truth. She was embarrassed by her mother's newfound passion. The night of the showcase arrived faster than I expected. I stood backstage in my dance costume, a flowing purple outfit that Maya had helped me choose, and my heart was racing. There were maybe 100 people in the audience, and suddenly I was terrified. What was I doing? I was 60 years old, about to dance in front of strangers. Gloria's original words echoed in my mind. "You're going to hurt yourself." Maya appeared beside me, sensing my panic. "Beatrice, listen to me. You've worked so hard for this. You deserve to be on that stage. Don't let fear steal this moment from you." When my name was called, I walked out onto the stage on shaking legs. The lights were bright. I could barely see the audience. The music started, and for a split second I froze. Then something incredible happened. My body took over. All those hours of practice, all that muscle memory, all that passion I'd been suppressing for 40 years, came pouring out of me. I danced like I was 20 years old again, like I had nothing to lose, like I was exactly where I belonged. The routine lasted only 4 minutes, but in those 4 minutes, I was completely free. I wasn't thinking about my age or my body or what people thought. I was just moving, feeling, being. When the music stopped, there was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity. Then the audience erupted in applause. Not polite applause, but genuine, enthusiastic appreciation. People were standing up. I saw Gloria in the 3rd row, crying and clapping so hard her hands must have hurt. And then I saw something that made my heart stop. Sandra was there, standing in the back of the auditorium, with tears streaming down her face. She had come, after all. After the showcase, people surrounded me, congratulating me, asking about my journey. One woman, probably in her 70s, grabbed my hand and said, "Thank you. You just gave me permission to start living again." That moment made everything worth it. But the story doesn't end there. After the showcase, Maya approached me with an interesting proposition. "Beatrice, I'm choreographing a piece for the City Dance Championship in 4 months. It's a competition for adult amateur dancers. I want you to compete." "A championship? Maya, I just started dancing 6 months ago." "I know. But you have something most dancers never develop. Authenticity. You dance from your soul, not just your body. I think you could win." The idea seemed impossible. But hadn't everything about this journey seemed impossible at first? I agreed to compete. The next 4 months were the most challenging of my life. The championship routine was far more complex than anything I'd done before. It required strength I didn't have, flexibility that seemed impossible at my age, and stamina that left me exhausted after every practice. There were days I wanted to quit, days when my body screamed in protest, when my mind told me I was crazy to think I could compete with younger, fitter dancers. But every time I considered giving up, I remembered that woman at the showcase who said I'd given her permission to live again. If my story could inspire even one person, I had to keep going. I changed everything about my lifestyle. I started eating healthier, sleeping better, taking care of my body in ways I never had before. I wasn't trying to look younger. I was trying to be stronger. There's a difference. Gloria became my unofficial trainer. making sure I stayed hydrated during practice and forcing me to rest when I was pushing too hard. Sandra called more often, asking about my progress, slowly coming to terms with her mother's transformation. The championship finally arrived on a Saturday in June. The venue was a real theater with professional lighting and a large audience. I was competing against 15 other dancers in the 60 and over category, which I was relieved existed. At least I wouldn't be the only older person on stage. Backstage, I met some of the other competitors. There was Margaret, 62, who'd been dancing her whole life. Patricia, 65, a former professional dancer making a comeback. These women were serious, trained, confident. I was terrified. "What am I doing here?" I whispered to Maya. "You're about to show everyone what courage looks like," she replied. When my turn came, I walked onto that stage wearing a costume that made me feel like a warrior. Deep red fabric that flowed when I moved, representing the fire I'd reignited in my soul. The music began, a powerful instrumental piece that built from soft to thunderous. I danced, not perfectly, not like a professional, but with every ounce of passion and determination I had. I danced for the 20-year-old girl who'd been told to grow up and be responsible. I danced for the 40-year-old woman who'd lost herself in other people's expectations. I danced for the 60-year-old woman who'd almost accepted that her life was over. When I finished, I was exhausted, trembling, and more alive than I'd ever been. The audience applauded, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine appreciation or polite acknowledgement. I walked off stage and collapsed into Maya's arms. "I did it," I sobbed. "I actually did it." "You were magnificent," she said, and I could hear in her voice that she meant it. The awards ceremony felt like it lasted forever. They announced third place, Patricia, the former professional. Then second place, Margaret, the lifetime dancer. I was disappointed but also proud. Just competing had been a victory in itself. Then the announcer said, "And in first place, with a performance that brought many in the audience to tears, Beatrice Thompson." I didn't move. I couldn't process what I'd heard. "Beatrice!" Maya pushed me toward the stage. "You won! You won!" I walked to the stage in a daze and accepted the trophy. It was heavy and gold, and the most beautiful thing I'd ever held. The announcer handed me a microphone and asked if I wanted to say anything. I looked out at the audience and saw Gloria standing and cheering, tears streaming down her face. I saw Sandra in the front row, clapping and smiling with pride I'd never seen before. I saw the other dancers, some disappointed but most of them applauding genuinely. 6 months ago, I said, my voice shaking, I was invisible. Society had decided I was too old to matter, too old to have dreams, too old to start something new. But I'm standing here to tell anyone watching, especially anyone over 60, it's not too late. It's never too late to become who you were meant to be. The audience erupted in applause that seemed to go on forever. After the ceremony, something unexpected happened. Reporters wanted to interview me. Local news stations picked up the story of the 60-year-old first-time dancer who'd won a city championship. The story went viral on social media, and suddenly, I was receiving messages from all over the country. Women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, telling me I'd inspired them to pursue forgotten dreams. A 68-year-old woman enrolled in art school. A 72-year-old man started piano lessons. A 65-year-old woman opened the bakery she'd always dreamed about. My story had given people permission to believe in themselves again. Today, 1 year after winning that championship, my life is completely different. I teach beginner dance classes at the community center for people over 50. My classes are always full because there are so many people who, like me, thought their time for joy had passed. Gloria joined my class and discovered she has a natural talent for rhythm. Sandra and I are closer than we've been in years. She tells people about her dancing mom with pride now. And Maya became more than my instructor. She became one of my dearest friends. But the most important change isn't external. It's internal. I look in the mirror now and I see a woman who is vibrant, strong, and alive. I see someone who refused to let age define her limits. I see someone who chose courage over comfort and discovered a version of herself she didn't know existed. Last week, a woman approached me after class. She was probably 58 or 59, and she looked nervous. "I'm too old to start this, aren't I?" she asked. I smiled and took her hand. "Honey, I started at 60 and won a championship at 61. You're right on time." She joined the class, and watching her take those first tentative steps reminded me of my own journey. The fear, the doubt, the joy of discovering you're capable of more than you imagined. My story isn't special because I won a trophy. It's special because I refused to accept the lie that life ends when you reach a certain age. I proved to myself and to everyone, watching, that second chances aren't just for the young. They're for anyone brave enough to take them. If you're watching this and you're thinking, "It's too late for me," I'm here to tell you, it's not. Whether it's dancing or painting or writing or traveling or starting a business or going back to school, it's not too late. Your best chapter might still be unwritten. Age is just a number, but courage is timeless. Did you like my story? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what dream you've been putting off. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories about women finding their second bloom. And if you want to support me in sharing these messages of hope, you can send a super thanks. Remember, you're never too old to become who you were meant to be. See you in the next story.